Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a brand new Game Maker tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to implement click to move movement into your game. So whether you're making a game like Diablo, or you're making friggin' Dota 2 or League of Legends, or you just want click to move as your movement as opposed to the arrow keys or something, then this is how you do it. So let's start off. I'm just going to create a player sprite, just SBR player. And I'm just going to make that 32 by 32, just with a basic blue color. No, we don't want to go too complex, of course. Now next, I'm going to call this SBR, I'm going to call it mouse click, and it's just going to be the little arrow that indicates where our player is going to be moving to. Not going to be animated or anything, just basic. Going to go with a pinkish color. Yeah, because I don't know, because my ground will probably be green, right? So if we go like this, oh, that's a quality arrow right there. Awesome. Well, there's our arrow, and that's just going to indicate where our player is going to move to. So of course we have to create an object. We have to create the obj player, and let's set that sprite to the SBR player. And I'm going to create an obj mouse click. Perfect. And let's set that to there. So let's start off with the mouse click. Let's add an event. We're going to add a mouse, global mouse, which is at the very bottom, global left press. So that means if we click anywhere in the room, the thing is with these mouse events is all these mouse events are if you click on the actual object, but the global mouse is if you click anywhere in the room. So it doesn't have to be just on the object. We're going to drag in some code, and we're just going to say x is equal to mouse underscore x, and y is equal to mouse underscore y. So all that's going to do is when we click, it's going to move that object to wherever our mouse is. So that's perfect, but of course that's not going to work just yet. So one thing we want to do is in the obj player, we're going to add a step event, and this is basically the most complex piece of code we'll have in here, but it's basically really the only piece of code in a way. The X and mouse X, it's there, but this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to type mouse distance, and that's just going to be a new variable. And I'm going to say mouse distance is equal to point underscore distance x, y, obj mouse click dot x. I'm going to explain this in a second. Obj mouse click dot y. And I'm just going to close that off with a bracket, and awesome. So basically, instead of having to type this really long piece of code into another really long piece of code, we can just type mouse distance. So if you ever need to, you can do this with keyboard checks as well. You can do var l key is equal to keyboard underscore check vk left, and now you can just type l key, and GameMaker will read it the same as doing a keyboard check. So that's just a cool little tip for you guys. So now this is the key point. This is the most important part of everything. We're going to say move underscore, actually let me explain this here. So move distance, so point distance. So all this is going to do is this is going to grab the coordinates of our obj mouse click dot x and our obj mouse click dot y, which of course is set every time we click. And it'll make more sense why we're doing that in a moment. We're going to say move underscore towards point obj mouse click dot x, obj mouse click dot y, and then it's going to ask for a speed, and instead of just doing one number like 4, we're going to type min, then we're going to say 4 mouse distance, and then we're going to end it off with 2 brackets. Now, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to move towards the mouse click dot x and the mouse click dot y. Now the problem with just doing that and not having this extra piece of code here, the min mouse distance and stuff, is as soon as the player actually reaches the mouse click dot x and dot y, it's going to start kind of glitching out. It's going to spin in some circles because based on the speed, unless the distance to the mouse click isn't an exact like multiple of 4, it's gonna keep trying to reach the exact coordinates of the mouse click. But of course, with the speed of 4, it won't be able to do that precisely, so it's just going to keep spazzing out. So basically what this min does is it basically just calculates the mouse distance and or the distance to the mouse, and allows us to use it to get a pixel perfect collision, or pixel perfect blockade, so that we no longer glitch out. I can show you an example of that in a second, but let's see if this works. Let's create a new room here. I'm going to make mine 640 by 480, and let's add a player in the room. Let's add a mouse click into the room, which you don't necessarily have to do, but I'm going to for this case. And in the background, I'm just going to make it a green color. I'm going to hit play, and let's take a look. Okay, so I can click, and the player moves towards it. I can click, and the player moves towards it. So as you can see, as I click around, the player will move. Now, of course, there's a few things we will want. Let's almost center this guy. Let's move. So this is the origin point. So this is basically when we click where this object is going to, how it's going to be created. So if we click right now, it's going to be created with our mouse right here, if that makes any sense. But if we move this point, so if we move the Y down to 30, not 30, we want 23. If we set it to 23 and then 13, now when we click, the sprite is going to point to right where our mouse is. So it's just a little thing with origins. There's some really great articles on it. I'm not going to go over too much, but basically the origin point is just where your sprite is, kind of like the middle point. The middle point of your sprite. Sure, I'll say that. And let's just center this origin point, so he will always he'll just be centered as he moves around and stuff. Now there's a few lines of code I want to add. First off, if you don't want to have this in the room straight away, you can take it out, and in the OBJ player you can add a mouse, global mouse, global left pressed, and drag in some code, and we can say if not instance underscore exists. So by putting in that exclamation mark, it basically turns this into a not statement. So if the instance does not exist, obj mouse click, then instance underscore create mouse underscore x, mouse underscore y, obj mouse click. So basically all this is going to do is right off the bat, if there isn't an obj mouse click already in the room, then it's just going to create a brand new one, and then it's not going to create another one again. So if you want to just create right off the bat, maybe, I don't know, maybe it lags your game if you just keep it in there for a while, I don't know. Then this is the code to do it. So that's that. Let's add a few more things here. In the obj mouse click, I'm actually going to add a step event. I'm going to drag in some more code, and I'm going to say, what's the best way to do this? I'm going to say if place underscore meeting x, y, obj player. So if the mouse click, obj mouse click, is touching the player, image underscore alpha is equal to 0. Else image underscore alpha is equal to 1. So all this is saying is that if we're touching the player, go invisible. Make it so we can't see you. Else, if we are touching the player, or if we're not touching the player, we are visible. But if we are touching the player, then we're invisible. And that just avoids with any glitching between the depths and stuff. That word has never been a good one with me. So let's hit play and let's test out the new things we've added. So we have no mouse click in the room. Oh, of course. Okay. We just have to add a line of code here in the step event. We're just going to say if instance underscore exists, obj mouse click. That should stop any errors that we are getting, because now it's not going to run the code unless there's already a mouse click in the room. So I'm going to hit check, and I'm going to hit check, and I'm going to hit play, and let's run it again. Run it again. So now we can click. There we go. Perfect. Now when we collide, it goes invisible, and now our player, can move around. So now you can use this in any game you like. Really, it's not only for RPG games or only for arena type games. You will be able to implement this into anything. Of course, you may want to change if your SBR mouse click looks anything like mine, you might want to change that. You could even animate it too. You can animate an up and down animation. Like, there's nothing, it doesn't have to be this basic little purple arrow. Oh man, art's really not my thing. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, if you have a question, or if there's maybe you got an error or something, please let me know, and I'll try and help you as soon as possible so we can get your game on the road. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.